Boom. The
Boom.
Human Game Podcast back again here
Let's
with
go.
Joey. We've
Let's
known each
go.
other for many years now. We're just
Many
talking about it.
years.
Some of the greatest years, some say.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
life's good. And it's funny because you said you feel like we're headed into a good time for humanity. And I feel like there's a lot of podcasts out there that are like, oh my God, what's gonna happen? It's gonna go bad. Here's how you gotta prepare for the worst.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about how just realizing how good it is to some extent already
Yeah.
and how good it's going to get.
Yeah.
I think it's actually a narrative that a lot of people, it's not even just a narrative. I think it's the reality. It's the fucking reality, bro, because think about this. We're in a time period where for 2000 years, the people tried to religiously program
Right.
everyone. And then in
Yeah.
5 years,
Yeah.
that shit could get
Yeah.
dismantled because of the internet.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm doing the
Yeah.
Trump hands if you can't see me. I don't
I
even
love it.
fucking know why. It's like my personality now somehow.
Yeah.
But you know what I'm saying? Like we're in a time period where there's so much information that it's beautiful to see that people are realizing the truth. I just had a skit
Yeah.
that reached 500,000, which is pretty good. And it was
It's
about the
pretty good.
Matrix. Pretty good, you know. Nobody does it better, but it's okay. It's still going, still going. Um, it did well, and I think it shows to the idea the skit was Morpheus, Orpheus.
Yeah.
Morpheus is
Yeah. Yeah. Very
Orpheus,
cool.
and that Orpheus is Jesus Christ, and that
Mm-hmm.
Neo is actually the Christ within, because Christ is
Mm-hmm.
a title. And I'd never heard that before, and
Oh,
people
dude.
really fucked with it. People really resonated with it, and I'm just like, damn, people are really starting to awaken to get it, to see it. Like there was a
It's
time period where I was
incredible.
talking about Christ within, and people were like,
Yeah.
"What?"
Yeah.
But now
Yeah.
people
Yeah.
are like, "Okay, we're already there." You know,
Oh,
people are coming
dude.
to the realization. It's beautiful.
Yeah. And like, it's so cool to see people find God within themselves, find God their own way. And that's really what's happening. And when you talk about Christ and Christ consciousness and Jesus, and it's like, man, like these were things not more than 4 years ago, what I wouldn't even talk about, dude. You came into to me in a conversation and you bring Jesus into it, I'm out. You even say the word God, I'm out. I'm not playing this indoctrination game. I'm not playing this, Catholic Church game that I grew up in. And I'm at this point now in my life, and I'm like, fuck, the word God means everything to me now. But it's because I had to discover that. I needed to find that within myself in my own way through my suffering and through my pain and through my, yeah, there's some research, but it was more that holy shit, letting life happen. And yeah, tons of healing of course, but man, to see everybody, not everybody, but so many people doing the same, finding God. And it's like I posted something the other day. And I'm like, it was I think Tyrese, the actor Tyrese. I think that was
Fast
him.
and
He
Furious.
was yeah, and he was talking about Jesus as a savior. And I'm definitely not a fundamentalist Christian, but I've had some moments with Jesus lately, with Christ consciousness, like really feeling him or that level of mastery, and just knowing that this was Christ consciousness, and like having conversations with Jesus and having and seeing, symbols that were just like so incredible. And so I posted something on my story. I'm like, what does this do to you when you hear the word Jesus, when you hear the word God? Like, what does it do? Does it trigger you to go, fuck, no, no, gross, yuck, get out of here? Does it make you go, makes you expand? Like, it's so different for everyone. And it just so it goes to show we're just yeah, we've just been programmed for so long. We've all have our different experiences with the church and religion and everything else. But yeah, it's beautiful to see the planet shifting the way it is.
Okay, so last thing I heard was we've all had, or a lot of us have had religious
Yeah.
indoctrination, right?
Yeah, just different experiences with church, the idea of church, the idea of religion, the idea of God, the idea of Jesus, the Muhammad, whatever. And I think all of it has been limiting. All of it,
That's the nature of language.
right? It's everything is limiting. If every thought is a limiting thought, every belief is really a limiting belief unless we're fully in the realization that we're infinite all the time. But yeah, it's pretty cool to see, man. People finding it for themselves. And yeah, we're in a very beautiful, beautiful time, even though there's a lot of contrast and it'll ramp up, I'm sure, even more. But um, happy to be here right now, man.
Yeah. People talking about take America back, but it's really about take God back. It's kind of what you're
Right.
saying.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that it's also because you start to come to the undeniable realization that there is some sort of universal intelligence behind everything.
Oh,
And so
yeah,
then
man.
you fucking you go the route of, fuck this religious indoctrination, but
Yeah.
you at some point I feel like what's happening is people are coming back to this realization that there's something in the concept of God.
Right.
You can't just go, well, you can, but then it's not the truth to just go,
Right.
well, no, God exists. And
Right.
so then you start to have miraculous events in your life. And then you start to
Yeah.
have, you can
Yeah.
have conversations with Jesus. You
Yeah.
can also have conversations with the Christ intelligence that is within
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah.
And that is also to me different than the Savior because the Savior
Yeah.
is the religious indoctrination.
Yeah.
And
Exactly.
so, but it doesn't necessarily mean that Jesus wasn't the savior. It means that, see, this is the nuance, right? Christ, the intelligence of Christ is the savior from sin, because if sin, the original meaning, some people say it's error, some people say it's missing the mark, like an archery term, like you're going to
Right.
miss the mark.
Mm.
So if we take either one of those, it's like, what if Jesus, and this is what I'm talking about in my esoteric Bible studies a lot, what if Jesus is saying that, hey, bro, you're going to miss the mark. But if you connect to Christ,
Yeah.
not Jesus, but the
Mm-hmm.
Christ within you,
Mm-hmm.
then you're naturally not going to miss the mark. You're going to
Yeah.
stop sinning.
Yeah.
But sinning isn't necessarily a bad thing. It's like
No.
also the taking out of reincarnation in the Bible, or the basically the suppression of it. There's verses where Jesus is talking about how John was, I think it was John was Elijah before, something like
Mm.
that. And you start to see that, well, how does that fit into the Savior? Well, if the nature of what Jesus was teaching was reincarnation, it's like, hey, you come into the game and you miss the mark because you don't remember how to play the game.
Right.
Let's just ride that edge for a second to
Right.
see where we get. So
Right.
then if you don't remember, you're gonna miss the mark.
Yeah.
But if you connect back to Christ,
Yeah.
the intelligence that is within
Yeah.
everything, that is within
Yeah.
you, the kingdom of heaven is within you,
Yeah. Yeah.
you'll no
Yeah.
longer sin. You'll
Yeah.
no longer miss the mark. But it's through you. So believe in him does not mean
That's right.
believe you believe in him does not mean believe in Jesus and you'll have everlasting life. It's like when you, and this is what Yogananda said, if you believe in the Christ intelligence and you connect to it in meditation, you'll realize you exist beyond the game,
Mm-hmm.
in different bodies beyond the human game. And
Yes.
that's what Jesus realized. And so when you say you have everlasting life, it's like, well, because if you think you're the physical ego, you'll die on death.
Of course.
And if you connect to that which exists beyond the physicality, then you'll have everlasting life.
Yeah.
But that's the Christ.
Right.
So to me, it's like so clear,
Yeah.
it's like clear as day to see it. Oh
Mm-hmm.
shit, that's what he was saying. It's so
Mm-hmm.
brilliant. And that's, I think what people were resonating with on that skit in particular was the idea of the Christ is within you.
Yeah.
And I can spit on this for days. I mean, it's one of the things I'm the most passionate about, because you start to see that if there's one code that could liberate humanity, I think that it might be this one. And it's because it realizes the connection to God and the connection to
Yeah.
God.
Yeah.
In the same way, bro. I mean, I'm going on a tangent now, but in the same way, Jesus literally says in the Bible not to pray. If you go to the Bible and you find the verses, and I can find the verse, there's a verse about Jesus is like, don't pray to me.
Yeah.
It's like, well, don't pray to me. Jesus is telling you to not pray to him. But
Yeah.
then people are praying to him. And it's like,
Right.
what are we doing?
Right.
So But at the end of the day, I don't think that the Bible is necessarily a bad thing. It's just been manipulated for power. And if we can see the truth in it, I think that's the storyline. And today when we're filming this, I think astrology is slept on by most people.
Yeah,
Pluto
agreed.
is going into Aquarius at 3:50. It's like 12 when
Hmm.
we're filming this. So we're
Yeah.
like in the last part of that transition. And, you know, there to drop another Easter egg for people, there's a whole, I don't know if I have the book here. Yeah, the book here, The Light of Egypt. There's a whole another rabbit hole. If you're like, well, that's all bullshit. Okay. You want to go another one, try this on. Astrotheology, that the 12
Ooh.
disciples or the 12 signs of the zodiac, and you just keep going and you talk about Christ, the Son of God, literally the Son. Okay, so you could
Yeah.
say, even from one perspective, the Bible is astrotheology. So
Right.
it's a lot deeper than Jesus is just my
Yeah.
savior and that's
Yeah.
it. And
Yeah.
because I believe in him and on my deathbed, it's just,
Right.
there's so much more to that connection. And I think people are realizing that.
It's really interesting too, though, because when you do see let's say a fundamentalist Christian or reborn Christian that has been saved, like that life has shifted, went from an addict to being this or whatever it is. We can't really blame these people who found God in their own way. Maybe it's still limited. Maybe there's still some indoctrination around it, but they found that something. They found God in their own way, whatever at whatever level, and there they are going, I was saved. Come here. I want to save you all as well. I want to show you the way. It's just like this new age spirituality. We've done all the same shit. We meditated. We found Eckhart Tolle. We found Nick's podcast. I
I'm not new
fuck.
age. Don't put me in that bullshit.
Okay. Well,
Get the
what I
fuck
mean
out
is
of here.
just what I mean is today's new way of finding God. I didn't mean to label you that, because then I'd be labeling myself that as well. Like, I'm part of what we're saying. Eckhart Tolle, I think, brings some absolute magic. But when we find it our own way, a lot of the first things we do, what do we do? I screamed it on the rooftops, dude. Go meditate. It's your way to God. It's your to this. It's your that. No different than someone coming to the house with a Bible and knocking on my door. And so,
Yeah.
what I'm trying to say is, like, I also get it. Like, it's like, okay, these fundamentalist Christians, these really hardcore Jehovah's Witnesses, whatever, doesn't matter. They're there because they found that through that. They found something that they didn't have at some point, and they want to share it. And it's like, so I've just had this new kind of appreciation for everybody in their own little kind of pocket of what God is to them and why they want to share it so much. I'm like, I get it, because I wanted to share it too. When I went from almost putting a gun in my mouth to, feeling, wow, like there's something more here. Like, did a little meditation, read a little Eckhart Tolle, found out some laws of the universe stuff. All of a sudden, the shift happened, a big shift in my life. Stop drinking so much. Stop finding it through porn. Stop this, like a little bit of this, a little bit of that. And it's like got me closer and closer and closer. So yeah, I just think it's kind of cool that I was doing the same thing when I first found spirituality. Is like I wanted to just scream it and to bring everybody into it so they could be saved as well, right? So yeah, just thought it was interesting.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Very interesting. So this reminds me, when you're saying the one that is like screaming the savior, it reminds me of Russell Brand. And I've
Mm,
already called out Russell Brand on,
yeah,
on
you
social
have.
media. And I will continue to, because
Yeah.
this is why. So I'd actually like to agree with your point to begin.
Yeah.
I think that there is some level of levels. There's literally some level of levels
Yeah.
to the game. And if
Right.
you're starting to breach into truth,
Hmm.
and that is moving closer to God, and if you
Right.
need to use this vehicle
Mm,
of something that is relatively true but not actually true,
mm,
it's like this viewpoint has been, see, this is like the collective unconscious playing out throughout history, because this keeps happening throughout history. It's like people look at the utility of something
hmm.
as the worth factor,
Right.
And then that becomes like the narrative as to why you believe it. Well,
Right.
because it alleviates my suffering. Oh,
Right.
because it makes my life better.
Right.
And I think that that can be helpful to some extent, but
Hmm.
it's like, well, if it's not the truth, it's like you can live
Mm.
in a delusion, and if the delusion
Yeah.
helps you, I'm happy.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's not the truth. So it's like,
I like that.
can we see that there's levels? And if you're moving to Jesus is the savior, and you're like one step closer to Christ's
Right.
intelligence as the
Right.
savior, and Jesus
Right.
was the body that
Right.
Christ's intelligence manifested itself through,
Uh-huh.
one of many. If you're like getting there, okay.
Hmm. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
don't
Yeah.
try to act like it's the ultimate truth when I come
Right.
at you and
I
tell you
agree.
that when I come at you and tell you that
Yes.
the actual
Yes.
truth, don't tell me that I'm wrong.
Right.
And I'm still going to come at you with the with the truth because
Right.
that's what I'm here to do.
Hmm.
So if you're in that viewpoint so much that you then cut
Right.
yourself off from seeing anything else. See,
Agreed.
this is the Christian problem a lot of the
Yeah.
times is you then cut yourself off from any Eastern tradition
Right.
because you're like, "Oh, well, we got it right over here.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
already
Yeah. Yeah.
saved, so what do I need to
Yeah.
worry about that for?" Like
Right.
I had somebody comment on my video that did the Matrix Orpheus Morpheus video, and they were talking about how Yogananda was not was a
A demon.
was a, basically a demon because he believed in the Hindu 40,000 gods.
Yeah.
First off, he's not even Hindu, right? He's a Kriya yogi.
Wow.
Very different. So it's like the ignorance of
Yeah.
it had his username was the preacher, but the ignorance of the preacher
Hmm.
to then basically not have no idea what he's talking about, and then to be like heresy and like, bro, you're so indoctrinated into your savior
Yeah.
complex that you are then outsourcing all of your power
Yep. Yep.
to somebody
Yep.
else to
Yep.
then save
Yep.
you, which then, so here's the psychological transition. Since you're outsourcing all your power to the savior, you then outsource all your power to the church
Yeah.
because you're outsourcing your power in general. And then that is just a natural transition. It's like
That's
this:
right.
when you eat shitty, you tend to not just eat shitty, you'll do other shitty things,
Yeah.
usually.
Hmm.
Like I went, I'm not going to call out which friend, but I went to, this is a hilarious story. We were talking about golfing together before this. I went golfing with a friend, and I say, I don't usually drink beer, but I wanted to have a beer with my friend. Um, And then I asked my other friend, "Hey, you want a beer?" And I gave him the beer. He's like, "Where's the cocaine?" And I'm like, that's what I'm talking about. It's like
Yeah.
it if you can't maintain in one area, usually if you're outsourcing here, you're going to outsource there. It goes
Yeah.
down to so many different
Yeah.
avenues. So that is my concern with that idea of believing
Mm.
in someone else outside of you.
Yeah.
And I still
Hmm.
simultaneously can recognize the utilitarian value of
Yeah.
believing it.
Yeah. Like most things, it's this and that, isn't it? It's never this or that. It's always, you can always hold a little bit of both. And yeah, it's interesting because like the work I do is, it's mostly regression, like 2000 hours of bringing people into the unconscious, the subconscious mind. And like, guess what all suffering comes from? It's like this power that's given to this person or this trauma or this moment or this program. And once that is brought to consciousness, which is that direct line to God, to Christ consciousness, which is creation, it's always now. As soon as you come to the present, this is why Carl Jung said, you got to bring the unconscious to consciousness, or else it'll run your life. You'll call it fate. And I'm paraphrasing, but this is what most of us are these programs and these stories that just run and run and run, and we don't even know they're running. We don't even know our story. And yeah, it's really amazing what happens when you get to go deep enough. And that's why meditation's been so key. Hypnosis is just a fast track into, the unconscious. And when we bring that to light, get things just naturally shift and fast. because it's like you bring the dark to the light, you bring the fucking illusion to truth, and it's all now. It's all now. And once that little piece of you that's been locked up in fear and fucking unworthiness goes, oh wait, I'm here. I'm here. I'm connected to all. I have you, which is that, and it's fucking God expressed in human form. When the unconscious parts of us that have been limited and fucking pain start, just feel it. Just they kind of come out of the box, and guess what? All those triggers, all that bullshit starts to just alleviate and release. And that's where just we create space and create space and create space. And yeah, man, it's just cool to watch people shifting right now. And we're at a very potent time of creation. Yeah. Ooh, getting chills.
Wow. That's a really, really important point.
Yeah.
I think the quote you're thinking of is until you make the conscious conscious, it will direct your life and you'll call it fate. I
There
think
it
that's the
is.
exact quote.
I
My
think you
fucking
nailed it.
brainiac mind,
Yeah,
dude.
your fucking mind is a different level.
That's literally all I do every day is study
Yeah.
Carl Jung
Yeah.
quotes, bro. So
Yeah. And all I do every day is bring people into the subconscious. So it's like,
hey, bro, I learn about it, you do it. It's fine.
yeah, it's amazing. And yeah, and people find God in that work. That's where, that's where the like the wisdom comes through. Like when you can see someone in hypnosis in a trance and the conscious mind just kind of takes a hike and information just starts to fucking flow. Like the channeling I see on a weekly, daily, sometimes daily basis. The ancient wisdom that comes through people who have never studied ancient wisdom. Like it's crazy. We all have access to this. Every single one of us. And the reason I love hypnosis so much is like, oh yeah, click, ego, get the hell out. Thank you. And it's like, whew, where's the resistance? Like if I have someone coming to me with an issue and they can't really pinpoint what it is, they're just stuck in a certain way. If I get them in a deep enough trance, I just simply ask their higher self to come forward, even just their soul, and just I'm like, soul, higher self of so and so of Nick, please bring us to where we need to go to resolve this issue. I'll snap my fingers, and guess what? I've never missed. Never does that not happen. Like it's wild.
Wow.
In 7 years, 2,000 hours of one-on-one people in their subconscious, and that works every single time. And so it's all
Wow.
there, like in our soul, the higher self, whatever you want to call it, consciousness maybe itself wants to just clear this, not only for us, but for the collective unconscious. Right? The more we release illusion within ourselves, the more the illusion dissolves in front of us. So there's like a lot of people wake up from the matrix, like, or they have this awakening, and because they see the holes, the Swiss cheese of life. They see the holes in all the stories of politics and medical and blah blah blah. That's cool. Yes, that's important, but everything has to go back here. Like it's all good to get in the streets and rah 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 and fight against them and fight against that. That's cool. I'm not saying that doesn't have a place, but what's this look like? What's this look like? You know? And that's when the change happens out here. That's why you're seeing so many people, so many healers, so many coaches, so many this. Fuck, man. It might be annoying, but I think it's pretty fucking awesome that everybody is stepping up in their own way to hopefully be, part of that. And yeah, the inner work is what the outer world needs. Everybody to do their fucking work. And that's not easy.
Whoo! Yeah, it's not easy and it's necessary
Yeah.
at the same
That's why
time.
we're here, I think.
Yeah. It's funny you're mentioning this topic because I was reading this morning in my academy, the Human Game Academy, we have a book club and it's called Man and His Symbols is the book we're reading. It's a Carl Jung book
Yeah,
and it was talking about the self and what he calls the self. Fuck, dude, I kind of want to get a diagram, but it's okay. I'll try to explain this because people are going to be
sure.
listening to this anyways.
Yeah,
So the self in Carl Jung's model is like not just like this all good thing.
right.
That's what people don't realize. It's like I wish I had the book in front of me. It's out there because I was reading it, but to understand that the things that are coming up, dude, this
Hmm.
is one of the biggest codes that I've learned
Okay.
about this game. One of the most corrupt codes for humanity that
Yep.
like the software code of humanity, what is one of the most corrupt? It really is the should code. Now,
Mm.
people understand that on like a surface level, but I don't know if people are ready to comprehend this, that suffering actually doesn't come from anger. It's actually the resistance to the anger being present or the depression, right?
Oh, dude.
It's
Yeah.
like it's like it's the thought that it shouldn't be there,
Okay.
that it shouldn't be there in the first place. That is the corrupt code. It's not the anger's not the corrupt code.
No. It's
Because when you say inner work, a lot of people will think, I need to get rid of this anger.
no.
It's like, actually, wait a second. Let's go back. Alan Watts and Carl Jung once met. I love telling this story every time. And Alan Watts was given his reflections of Carl Jung after meeting him. And you can find this online. And what he said was the most brilliant thing about Carl Jung was that he could feel anything and be completely okay with it. He
Right.
could be feeling any emotion and be completely
Yeah.
at peace with
Yeah.
that.
Right.
And that just goes to show that it's
Mastery.
actually the resistance
Yes.
to the
Nailed it.
thing that's happening that is the
Brother.
problem. When people, because that's
Oh,
that's like the biggest corrupt code for humanity to me, one of them.
dude. Dude, so good.
You're thinking the thing that's happening is the problem,
Yeah.
but it's
Yeah.
it's like
Your
you
resistance to it.
it's like you think you're God, bro.
Yep.
That's
Yep.
what it
Yep.
is.
Yep.
It's
Yep.
like you think you're God that it shouldn't be here. It's like so you're when you say that it shouldn't be here, I shouldn't be feeling this emotion.
Yeah.
You're saying you know better than God than
Yes,
what you
that's
should
right.
be
That's
experiencing.
right. The amount of people that want to let things go and let things go and let things go and let things go. You have to let things be first. You need to let that be here. The rage that wants to surface that you can't wait to let go of, you haven't allowed to be here. You haven't allowed to be expressed. That's why all this disease happens in the body is because you're not allowing these things to come up. But the problem with it too is we're so fucking distracted, Nick, that most of us don't even know that we need to go there. And so there's so much stimulus, so much going on. Life is hard, not gonna lie. There's things going on, you make a ton of excuses, but this day and age is there's so much distraction that we don't even know how to do that. We don't know how to sit with stuff. But if this, you can probably get me on this one, on this quote too. But this was a story about the Dalai Lama. There's this guy that approached the Dalai Lama in the street one day and said, "Hey, I'm really trying to forgive. How do I forgive? I can't seem to forgive." And he asks, "Have you allowed yourself to be angry enough yet? Have you allowed yourself to fucking rage? Have you allowed yourself to say, fuck that guy or fuck this and really feel into what the hell's alive in your system, in your field right now? Like, who are you to say you can't or it's bad or good? Like you said, it's like, let it be here. This is the human experience. We're supposed to feel all this shit. This is the beauty of it. And yes, it hurts. But at the other end of that hurt, I promise you there's magic. And if you just allow yourself to be in this human experience and all of its rawness and multifaceted, layered fucking emotions, things will flow. That's where the flow happens. But things get stuck. And, you know, the part of the subconscious that wants to keep us safe emotionally. And so when these things have happened to us as kids, and I see this, like I said, every day, um, we don't even know what's stuck. That's why it's really important to find a practice. I feel for anyone is find a practice that you can use to tune in. It doesn't have to be this way. You don't have to be a monk and meditate 2 hours a day, 5 hours a day. Find what works for you. Find if it's sitting under a tree, if it's walking with your dog and you're able to be super present with what's alive within you while you're walking or sitting or whatever. Find it, because the more you tune in consciously, the more you find your way within your system and what's alive and what's moving. You know, there's amazing people that can help you with that, but like find that. And then if you got some big traumas, you got some big patterns, you got some big fucking issues moving and you can't shake it, can't pass it, find a hypnotherapist. Find someone who can guide you so you not have to worry about it. Because I really do feel hypnosis is something we have not even fucking started to tap into yet. And I think and yes, I really do think it's a huge key to us becoming who we're meant to be on this planet. Not just because I do this, but because I think it's untapped. I really think we've only scratched the surface on what we can achieve when we go into trance-like states.
Well, there's a reason out of anything you chose to do. You chose this. You could be doing
Mm.
anything with your life, you know,
Yeah.
because it's
Yeah.
powerful.
Oh
You
yeah.
know, I think we can sum up kind of what we were both just talking about with a couple of Carl Jung quotes. The first one is the most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
And then it goes
Mm-hmm.
great with his other quote. People will do anything, no matter how absurd, in order to avoid facing their own soul. One does
Mm-hmm.
not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious.
Boom, baby. Like
There it is.
it's as soon as you bring everything to now, you're bringing it to God. You're bringing it to everything. And yeah, it's scary, but what happens is there's liberation from when you do that. Like and it shifts everything. Um but yeah, this but like now it's so much easier to doom scroll and distract yourself than it ever has. And you wonder like is this by design as well? Like, you know, I can get into this talk, but um just tune in, find your way home, even if it's 5 minutes a fucking day, 10 minutes a day. If you can find a way to just tune in a little bit, what's alive and letting it be there. Is it rage? Cool. You're allowed here too. I love you. Fear? I love you. Anxiety? Okay, I love you. You're allowed to be here too. What if I just held you lightly? What if I just allowed you and gave you space to be here with me, with God, with consciousness? What would happen? Guess what? It has a place to go. It has a place to be it's forgiving. It's like forgiving. It's you get to give it up. Oh man.
Damn.
Yeah.
Damn,
Yeah, man.
son. Shit. I'll
Yeah.
bring it all the way back to religion. Let's go.
Let's go.
So, how does this tie into religion? Well, what are we saying? We're essentially saying people are afraid to experience their own shadow
Mhm.
or the darkness in the same way that religious programming has got people really scared of the devil.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So then, if you're scared of the devil, think about the difference between this. Jesus fasting for 40 days in the desert. Why don't we tell a story through it? And he gets tempted by Satan. What does he say? Get back, Satan. Do not tempt thy God.
Mm-hmm.
When you're in that Christ state, you're not afraid of that.
Oh.
You recognize it for what it is.
Yeah.
And so, in the same way, Jesus is telling us, you are that, you are above that. It has no power over you unless you are giving it power over you.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And there's a difference between accepting something. This is another key. There's a difference between accepting something and allowing it to rule your life. Those are two
Yeah.
very different things
Oh yeah.
because I think people sometimes think if I allow this anger to come out, I'm going to fucking punch somebody, right? And it's like, can you experience the sensation in your
Right.
body?
Right.
And actually, you know, Hawkins taught me something about this, Dr. David Hawkins, you know, with letting go. It's funny you're talking about letting go, but it really is sometimes about detaching from the story of what it is
Yes.
and just sitting with that emotion, and you actually learn to become comfortable in anger. And I
Mm.
think maintaining that, another book that will help with that is Emotional Intelligence. It's a good book on this. And so the and stress, when anger comes, what window of tolerance? Learn to allow that thing to be present, the window of tolerance goes up. So then what? You can do the
Mm.
things that are going to be of most service times. You aren't having to go sit
Oh,
on
you're cutting out quite a
this
bit here, Nick.
because you can.
I lost you.
Am I cutting out? Yeah.
There we go. You're back.
Back. Okay. So yeah, the idea is when you're at a high level of consciousness, you're actually able to unify because unity, people think that love is actually the negation of lower levels of consciousness, but it's a unification.
Mm.
So it's like they add onto each other.
Right.
How do you get to higher frequency? Is it by getting rid of lower frequencies? No, you've got to fucking unify them.
Mm.
You have to put
Yeah.
them together.
Well, the
So it's
integration of the shadow, right?
it's the same thing. The integration of
Yeah.
the shadow is the same thing as raising your frequency
Of course.
because you're unifying those wavelengths, whether from a psychological standpoint or from a frequency standpoint.
Right.
Then they're moving faster because they're
Mm.
adding together.
Mm.
So it's the addition of
I
fear
really like that.
unifying with anger, with pride, with courage, with willingness,
Ah,
with acceptance, with all of them, shame, guilt. You put them all
yeah.
together, that makes love. People think that
Mm.
love is it's this thing where you're just letting go of these. No, you're
Right.
allowing them to be able to be
Right.
present
Beautiful.
without trying to change them. But then you also are not allowing them to control you out of love. Out
Right.
of love, you're not
Right.
letting them control you.
Right. 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 Yeah.
Because with that state of love, that's what makes them a lower level of consciousness in the
Mm-hmm.
first place, is that they're
Mm-hmm.
lacking love.
Yeah. That's
They're
it.
lacking the higher frequency.
That's every part of us that's hurt and stuck in trauma and stuck in limit in loops is it's just this idea or this belief that there's a disconnected to that love. There's a lack of love, and it's just when you bring something to light, you bring when we heal, we bring it to love, we bring it to acceptance, we bring it to like, and that's yeah, beautifully said. I love that so much. I never thought about the wavelengths just getting stronger because of unification, like.
Yeah, and then we
Or
can
yeah,
even take that to let's take that to another level.
yeah.
Not a necessarily higher level, it's just a different way to see it.
Mm,
Alchemy. What is alchemy? It's turning base metals into
yeah,
gold.
that's right. There it is.
So from an alchemical standpoint, it's
Yeah,
also the same thing.
same thing.
It's so if so some people might be like, well, love is cringy. All right, bro, you want to call it inner alchemy? You
Yeah,
want to
yeah,
call it
right,
you
right.
want to call it transmutation into a higher
Find
form?
whatever you need,
You
brother.
whatever you need to call it,
Yeah,
whatever you
yeah,
need to call it to feel good and to understand
yeah,
that it works. It's fine.
yeah, yeah.
But that is see, those are different than outsourcing your power. That's different than outsourcing your
Yes,
power. It's just a
100%.
different way to say the same thing. In the same way
Yeah.
that the Bible says, what is the name of God? I am that I am. It says, the story of Moses, I
Mm-hmm.
am. You go to the Brahman, you go to Yoga Sutras. It's the same thing. It's
Mm-hmm.
the I, the presence.
Yeah.
And so this Jesus, the small still place within. Shout out to Claiborne, who's regular on the podcast. He talks about that all the time. So it's like if you keep going throughout traditions, you'll find these truths. And I think that unity, often overlooked, really is a level of truth, but also there's a game to play here, baby. Some of
Mm-hmm.
us are gonna need to be the heretic and need to call shit
For
out.
sure.
And I get people commenting on my videos being like, well, we just need to love them. It's like, I love you so much, I can tell you where I think that you're missing the mark, bro.
Right.
I love
Right.
you that much that I'm going to
Mm-hmm.
call you out. Do you think I want to call you out? Do you think it's fun for me? It's like, no, it's like, but I know that it's the truth and somebody has to do it. And nobody's gonna do it but me, so I guess I'll do it.
I think we're gonna get Russell. We got to get Russell Brand on the show here.
And, I don't have a problem with Russell personally. I just feel like
Yeah,
I I
that's
just
really interesting.
I
Yeah,
just wonder.
it's interesting to see that whole thing, how it all. Yeah, it's really interesting though.
I mean, that's what I said in the video. I mean, I'm like, it's just interesting how he supposedly like was trying to get canceled, then he converts to Christianity, and now he's full on fundamentalist. It's like you could have chosen any, like, bro, you were kind of Buddhist before, right? You could have
Yeah,
chosen any version of Christianity. You could have moved towards God in any way,
right,
right? If it would have been even just like, to me, the fundamentalist is the most programmed. That's just how
right.
that's just what I think. I'm entitled
Sure.
to my opinion.
Yeah,
And
sure.
so it's like, to go to that extreme,
Yeah,
it's questionable, but it also could just be that the man's has been lost a lot of times in his life. He's talked about how, you know, he struggled with women and these other things. And so maybe, see, I'm not even convinced of the narrative that he's consciously like, you know what, I'm gonna sell my soul and I'm gonna do it. That's
right,
not what
right,
I'm
right. Of
saying.
course.
It
No,
could
no, no.
it could be, but I'm not saying that that's what's happening. It could be
Right.
unconscious. It could just
Yeah.
be, I just fucked up and this seems like the truth. Everybody else is
Right.
saying this is the truth, so I'm
Right.
gonna follow the crowd. And
Yeah.
so it's not necessarily I have a personal thing against him, but I have a I have a problem with falsehood. And I always am looking for the truth. And I feel I've talked about Christ consciousness for like 3, 4 years. This is
Hmm.
nothing new. It's isn't like I just saw him doing it and I'm like, you know what, screw this guy. It's like, no, I
Yeah.
go back to my videos 3, 4 years ago. This has been a constant theme. I've talked about it more because I've gotten more passionate about it because I
Right.
realized how needed it is and how
Yeah.
impactful it's been in my life to study
Right.
this.
Right.
This has been, that's something I don't often talk about, but it's worth mentioning. The reason why I really see this as an important code is because it's been so transformative in my own liberation through my
Right.
own perception of the way reality is.
Right.
And so it unlocks me so much that,
Right.
yeah, to some extent, I want to share it because I feel so liberated. And I
Right.
think that learning from people that are committed to the path is important.
Right.
And,
Right.
I'm not a saint and I'm not perfect and I never claimed to
No.
be, and I got my shit.
Yeah.
But I also do like learning from Yogananda because he was committed. Man never drank. I think man was celibate his entire life. Like, just like if you're going to commit to that extent, and people say that they can feel the presence of God around you, like we have so much evidence of that,
Sure.
then I want to hear what you have to say. You're not a Galactic Federation channeler who just shaved your hair and now saying, "Oh God, I
Right.
have all the answers." And then it's
Right.
like, bro,
Right.
you're getting bought out. You're
Yeah.
some people are.
Mm.
And so, we had that conversation before about,
We did.
some Bashar shit that,
Yeah.
I think the utility of Bashar as a philosopher is great in a lot of ways. Like if you just look at his what he's saying as a philosophy, then okay. But if
Yeah.
you start to see it as this is divinely given
Right.
information,
Right.
you're just doing what the same thing
Yep.
fundamentalists are
Yep.
doing with
Yep.
Jesus now as the
Right.
savior. It's just another iteration of the
Hmm.
same dogma.
Yeah.
Somebody else has a connection to God or divinity or to something more powerful, not you, and you must take that through them. So you're outsourcing your power to receive it directly from
Right.
God. That's why
Yep.
Jesus said, "Don't pray to me."
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
like, whoa, that's what you were talking about earlier. The new
Yeah.
age is just
Yeah.
another iteration of
Yeah.
outsourcing your power in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
So it's an interesting topic, and I do think a lot of what Bashar says is true to some extent.
Yeah.
But when he had that election video,
I know.
didn't feel like that was the
Well,
same energy
well,
to
no,
me.
and we talked about that, right? A little bit. And like I actually really like Anka and I love Bashar and I love listening to some of the videos. I'm like, wow, some of it really lands and really hits. And then when I
Same,
saw the
yeah.
election one, and I'm like, I was like, man, it didn't even sound like, how you usually see, when Anka talks and then when Bashar talks. And Bashar always has that different kind of cadence and sound, and it's just a little different. And in that video, it didn't really feel like that was happening. It was like, Anka had to just say, well, I'm gonna play this. I gotta do this now. It just didn't feel authentic. And it just felt really weird. And regardless if he would have chosen the other person to be the person who brought contact and they switched the roles, even then it wouldn't feel like, it's not about the person that he was talking about or how they were talking about these people. It was just the whole thing didn't feel like a channeled message. It didn't feel like he was, Bashar, if that makes sense. But I
Yeah.
mean,
I mean, I think there was another good point in our conversation about how with that amount of reach, you think he's not getting a knock on his door?
well, that's exactly it. I mean, you are now with social media, he's getting millions of views a day on different people's platforms, but it's all him. Think of how many views you think how many people are seeing a Bashar video a day? Millions,
A
millions,
lot of
millions,
people
a lot of people. And so it's like, of course, you got to be
with his
getting
little
that
hand
knock
signs and shit too.
for sure.
It's
So,
interesting. Yo, oh, that's another interesting hand signs. That's another
mhm,
interesting one. People talk about the hand signs and it's like, doesn't Bashar do this one?
he
Some shit
does do
like
this one.
this.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then guess what? Did you see the Trump and Biden meeting? They shook hands and then Trump's doing that.
Yeah. I've seen him do that before. Yeah.
What? Yeah, so it's like
Um,
some people say it's negative symbolism. Some people
nat
say that it's
yeah.
mudras. You
Yeah. See,
know,
I naturally do this when I'm meditating. Like it's
yeah.
just I don't even know what this it means. Like it's a natural that just happens when I'm like, yeah. So it's kind of where I sit. I don't know if it's just my fingers coming together. It's a point of contact. I don't know if it's a mudra. It might be, but I don't know. That's what I naturally do. So
Well, it's
let's
it's
see.
interesting. It's interesting. Mudras are a whole conversation. Bashar is an interesting guy. I think I just worry about people outsourcing their power. I mean, I don't worry about it, but it's like I hope that people empower themselves. I mean, that's like my whole message, right?
Well,
To
so
empower yourself.
so tell me this, Nick, like with you and the amount of knowledge you have, the amount of research you've done, um, what do you have a spiritual practice? Like, do you have some sort of rituals that you do pretty consistently, or is that ever changing? Like, I'd love to know a little bit about that for you.
I'm trying to find the mudras. The one you're talking about is called Kalishwar.
Mm,
There's also Hakini, which is kind of the one that I we see Bashar doing.
right.
A lot of these do have power. The last thing I want to say on that, then I'll answer your question, is
Sure.
I feel like they complete the circuit. Like if you think about your body as a
Makes sense.
circuit,
Yep.
even if you just have your hands together, like this isn't really like a
Right.
sign. It's just like you're completing the
Well,
circuit.
like
So
I
it,
said, point of contact, right? So
yes.
it's like,
So it goes around.
yeah, there it is.
So it's not
That's what it
necessarily a
feels
bad
like.
thing if anybody has their hands like this.
No,
But there are Freemason symbolism and
sure.
stuff. So we also got to be aware of those things. So do your research is all I'm saying.
Yeah. Yeah.
And do we also know if people are doing it consciously or not? I think if T-Man's doing it, he's probably doing it consciously. I think he's that
Right.
intelligent. But anyways, any spiritual practices that I do, yeah. So I mean, I'm trying to become a Jedi, bro. I
Hmm.
mean,
Yeah.
Qigong is
Yeah.
a necessity for me. It's funny if
Okay.
you saw me reach over for my phone at the beginning of this podcast. Um, let me see if I can remove all the other notifications so you can
Sure.
see here. Um, I want you to see. Um, you can see
A
this.
little blurry. Oh,
It
there it
says
is.
Pong. That's
Okay.
commun. So it's the Shaolin warriors. I'm a part of the Shaolin training
Amazing.
and the Qigong that Shi Hing Yi leads, who is the Shaolin headmaster at the temple in Europe. And or yeah, he was. I believe he still is. But anyways, besides the point. I've been doing Qigong for a long time. I think the practice of moving energy throughout your body
Yes.
consciously is in a
Hmm.
really important practice. I'm
Hmm.
getting my feet on the ground. I mean, to me, the essentials are feet on the ground and sun in my eyes in the
Love it.
morning
Love it.
and on my body. Also, the thing, and I totally can relate to the people in the north right now. I mean, you're a Canadian hoser.
Yeah.
The clouds, the clouds are rough, bro. Like I'm in
Yeah.
Michigan right now in my cabin, and I'm gonna be out of here in a little while. And it's like, damn, it's cloudy and rainy
Yeah.
every day right now. So I can
Yeah.
also understand like the struggle, but getting my feet on the ground and doing qigong at the same time, consciously doing the
Yep.
practices of
Yes. Yes.
that is
Beautiful.
probably my staple.
Okay.
I like it because I've done videos talking shit about yoga in the West, how it's just stretching.
Right.
That is like actual movement. And I do feel as though energy is moving through my body
Yeah.
subjectively. And nobody can
Yeah.
take that away from you if you feel it like it's
Right.
actually happening.
Absolutely.
And I think after reading so much Kriya yoga, studying so much Kriya yoga, there are specific Kriya yoga practices, but I think the idea that is relayed over and over is meditation and
Mm.
stillness to connect to that omnipresent Christ within you.
Yes.
That that is also a practice. And
Yeah.
it's like for most people, it's like imagine sitting still with yourself for 20 minutes straight. Like that
Right.
can feel actually kind of terrifying at the beginning for some
Hmm.
people. Like we have people
Hmm.
listening to this that are at, level 1 or level 99.
For sure.
So it's terrifying to accept yourself completely. Well, then you might want to get quiet enough to hear what all of yourself is saying.
That's right.
And so that
Yeah.
now I would say those are my biggest right now. I'm working out every day. I work
Okay.
out at home. I haven't been to a gym in 3 months, and I'm
Right.
making incredible gains.
Yeah.
So the gym is also kind of a spiritual practice for me. I'm
Yes.
putting music
Love
in. I
that.
put phone on do not disturb, and I'm just tuning in, bro. Sometimes it's
Yeah.
synthwave, sometimes it's
Beautiful.
Japanese instrumentals,
Right.
hip hop
Yeah.
instrumentals, and just going
Yeah.
for it.
Yeah.
Samurai. Sometimes, it's just tapping into the energy. So it's like I'm embodying
Yeah.
also my kind of my practice is embodying different aspects of me during the day.
Love that.
In the warrior, I'm in the warrior while I'm working out. I'm in the actor while I'm making skits.
Right.
I'm in the podcaster eh,
Hmm.
now. So it's like I've kind of designed a life where all these aspects of me get their time
I love that.
to express.
To be expressed. Yeah. How fucking beautiful is that, man? I really, yeah, I just want to honor you in that. That's freaking cool to be able to give all those parts an avenue, a lane, some time, because it's really easy to get caught up in the whole fucking race of everything. And, even being online, you have a big following, you got a lot of going on, and it can be easy to just get wrapped up in having to make skits or
Oh, I
being
do sometimes.
productive. Yeah, yeah, sure, sure. And yeah, I think it's really amazing. It's something I've been doing too, like with my guitar and my singing, and, something that I wasn't always giving enough attention to. And it's such a big piece, that artistic expression for me. And you get it through your acting, and I'm sure other ways, but for me it's music, and it's my voice. It's always been my voice. I need to That's why I don't love sending texts. I'll send a voice message 99% of the time, because that's
Have
how I
we ever
express myself.
texted?
Fuck, I don't think so, man. I think we're always voice messaging back and
Or
forth.
gifts?
Or gifts, yeah, of course. Yeah, dude. Um,
Nice. But what about you though? Tell us your practices. What are you
yeah,
doing daily?
yeah. The
Last thing
workouts
I want to
are
say. Last thing I
sure.
want to say. Breath work sometimes.
Yeah,
Depends on the day.
yeah.
That is
Agreed.
also, yeah.
Cool. Yeah, the workouts for me have been a pretty big staple since I've been like in my mid 20s, early to mid 20s, and that's something that it's kind of my first thing that happens in the morning. It's where my first kind of bursts of real energy goes to, is my workouts. Right now I'm back into a meditation practice, but nothing strict. It's sometimes binaural beats, sometimes it's my breath, sometimes it's, you know, just allowing myself to see what's alive. Sometimes it's 20 minutes, sometimes it's 5. And I realize, like, through this journey of meditating, you can get wrapped up in what it's supposed to look like or what it has to be. And I've had those moments where my meditation practice was stuck because I was looking for something, or I think I needed to hit 40 minutes, or if I didn't hit 40 minutes, it wasn't a successful meditation, blah, blah, blah. And then I remember having this moment where I just took this, it was one of these. I was like, well, fuck this. I'm just going to put 5 minutes and see what happens. Blast off. Like I had zero expectation, and that 5 minutes felt like 2 hours, right? Because I was just able to really let go of this idea of what it was supposed to be. And so I'm really trying to embrace that right now in my practice, all my practices, even my workouts. Today was like a 25-minute workout where normally I'd be like, I need an hour. No, that wasn't it today. And so being disciplined and consistent, and yet trying to flow with the magic of life and what it wants to show me as well. So trying to find the balance of the masculine, feminine right now. But for spiritual practices being like strict right now, I don't really have any. And I'm kind of digging it, if that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, bro. You're reminding me when you're talking about, I guess I don't even consider these a practices. This is just the way I live. Like when I get up, some days it'll be different. Like some days I'll get up, I'll have a coffee and I'll get my pipe out and I'll turn on a
Yeah.
great song and I'll like,
Yeah.
but no social media. It's just the
Mm,
song on in the background. Just pick up my phone to
yeah.
turn the song on. And then I go outside and I just fucking stand there with my
Yeah.
feet off the ground.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm gonna be here until I fucking fully tap into
Oof.
like the
Yeah.
feeling of
Yeah.
gratitude or
Yeah.
whatever it might
Yeah.
be.
Yeah.
And so like also I recognize that a lot of what I'm struggling with in the past is the brain is not optimized. And so then I'm consciously committing to reading a book for 20 minutes
Yeah.
every morning.
Love that.
And
Really
so
love
then
that.
you'll be surprised on if you're doing like
Yeah.
sometimes with the pipe and the coffee, I'll read a book while I'm doing that. And it's like, so
Mhm.
it's not strict as it looks like this every day. It's like
Right.
here's the
Yeah.
archetype and
Hmm.
here's the river, and I'm gonna flow through that river kind of
That's right.
differently
That's
each
right.
day.
Love that. Yeah, man. It's like this morning on the way to the gym, as I'm loading my bag, normally I could kind of rush that process, but it was a little cold. So the car was running. I was getting it warmed up, and I was like that moment of with the sunrise over the mountains and the clouds. And I was like, oh yeah, what a great gift right now to tune into just what I'm able to fucking see right now and be a part of right now. And I was like 5 minutes of just being there. And it's like, wow, all right, in my car. And so trying to make little moments like that with whatever I'm doing. Like even if
Bro,
it's washing the
yes.
dishes, like trying to be like, how much intention can I bring to this 3 minute washing my dishes and putting them away? And I'm definitely not perfect at it, but like letting that be my spiritual practice too. Just being really present with the task at hand, even if it's grocery shopping, or
Bro, talk about shoulds. This reminds me of a big should. Like, I have a friend who told me he was thinking about moving near somebody because he doesn't ha he once that friend moves, he won't have any other friends in the area. And I thought to myself, bro, I kind of like being alone.
man, I've embraced that a lot lately.
Like, so much of my should is like, man, I shouldn't be alone for a while. But then, like, I realize how much of a blessing it actually is.
Yeah,
So then it's like you get to this place where I will only accept the greatest versions of what I desire, like a relationship or other
right,
people around me, or I'm not going to have it in my life. I'm not going to settle for
right,
something that's half
right,
because I don't want to be alone. Because then you start
right.
to actually embrace it because that's the should that we were talking about earlier. I shouldn't be
Yeah,
alone. It's like, well, actually, if you just embrace this, bro, what if
yeah,
the resistance to being alone is the reason why you're extending it?
yeah,
Damn.
yeah,
Because
man.
that's the level in the game you have to complete
Right?
to get to the next level, potentially.
You wouldn't, yeah, it couldn't be any different because it's not. You're here now. So what are you going to do with this opportunity? Like, you know, it should be different. Well, then you're missing the point.
Why don't you enjoy your own presence? If you don't like being
Right,
alone, why don't you enjoy your own presence? Why do you need somebody else
right,
to enjoy their presence? But there's also the pure desire. of you want to be in a relationship. I want to be in a relationship. Okay. You can purely desire that, but
Yeah.
simultaneously still be okay with the timing of
Oh,
it. It's like
so yeah.
nuance.
Yeah. I love it both. Yeah, I think we all want relationship. But again, like you said, how many times have we abandoned ourselves just to be in relationship? Just, how many times have we abandoned what we actually wanted or just like, oh, yeah, I guess this will work for now. Even in friendships, dude. Like, how many friendships like that? Like, I look back, I'm like, why did I even fucking hang out with these people? They didn't fucking give a shit about me. Or I didn't really even give a shit about them.
That's the fucking hard part to be honest with yourself
It's like,
about.
ooh, I
That's
didn't
the
really
hardest part.
care. Damn. What was it giving me?
Yeah. Or you really don't resonate with the person, but
Yeah.
you're like
But I don't
trying
want to
to
be
tell
lonely.
yourself, or yeah, you're trying to tell yourself that you should because
Yeah.
they're this or they're that, but it's
Yeah.
like, but there's
Sure.
something in you that doesn't, it's not for you, but you're like, you'd also, it's also the other side of this. You don't want to disappoint them. You don't want to
Oh, I
hurt their
know.
feelings. You don't
I
want to
know.
talk back to them because they want to talk to you. And it's like,
Yeah.
bro,
Yeah, man.
so the people that I'm around just got to understand that I have so many people messaging me. Sometimes I
Oh,
fall
yeah.
off. And
Oh,
like, that's just how it is. That's the nature of who I am at this moment.
yeah. Yeah.
And it's like if you can have people for accept, it's not even accepting yourself. It's like, well, then the extension of that is that if you allow the space for the people to come in that fully accept you too,
Yes. Yeah.
oh, that's what we're talking about. The people that fully
Oh,
accept you and actually support you when you're doing something that's not beneficial for them,
right. Yeah.
especially family. That's huge with family. If your family is not able to support you because you're moving away, because you're going to go somewhere and it's like, well, you're not going to, and you can feel that they're like, not really, they really are being kind of selfish with it. It's like, bro, understand, there's leaks that you can also have a relationship with them, but there's a level of extraction that they're seeking from you.
Yeah.
So just be aware of that
Yeah.
and don't allow that to control your experiences. I mean, I'm speaking
Yeah.
from experience.
Same.
I stayed way too long in a state that I did not enjoy in a place
Yeah. Yeah. So,
part of it.
yeah, and I think the family thing is I think it's really important that you brought that up because that is something that you will see anyone who's caught black sheep or does something different or moving away or does maybe goes for something bigger. That's the tall poppy syndrome, right? Like that's the first people that are going to chop you down are the ones closest to you, not because they don't love you and don't want you to succeed. It's just this idea of you leaving the herd. Like you being such a powerful energy, you being such a big piece of what they see as keeping things together. And maybe they got so much from you. Maybe there is some manipulation there, but the reality is usually it's an unconscious fear of losing that piece. And so
Yeah.
what anybody here creating their first business or going on their own or creating maybe writing a book or whatever, set yourself up to know like the ones closest to you are not going to be the ones that cheer you on it's just this weird thing that happens a lot of the
Sometimes.
time. Yeah, I'm not saying everyone, right? But it's this fear that gets triggered within them of losing you and what if and so they will try to keep you kind of here at first anyway. So yeah, yeah, you're going to have to really be aware of that. It was really hard for me, when I left my job and went into this full time and went online and I'm like, oh, my friends or my family is going to really support this. No, their fear was triggered out of this. Like, what if it doesn't work? What if you fail? What if this? What if that? What if this? And it can get really sticky if you start going down that rabbit hole with them. Yeah,
Yeah, mine, I can relate to that a lot. Mine is specifically around I live a nomadic lifestyle.
right.
It wasn't that my family didn't support me, is that they wanted me to live near them. And they still do to this day. They
That's
want me
fair.
around them.
Yeah.
And I can feel this energy of I'm about to leave again, and I can feel this energy of
Yeah.
don't leave, don't leave, don't leave, don't leave, don't
Hmm.
leave. And it's
Yeah.
like, bro. And then I start to think about what I said earlier. There's levels to this. there's that level of you can keep them at a distance, yes, but also understand your power. Nobody can stop your blessings from coming to you unless you allow them to.
Bingo.
It's between you and God.
Always.
Nobody can stop your inheritance from God. Nobody can take your power from you to create the life. It really actually is. Do you need to, at this, just be honest with yourself. Do you, at this point in your life, do you need to set boundaries with them until you
That's right.
have the power to have them in your life to where they don't affect you?
That's
This is
right.
why every time people, sometimes I work with people one on one, and over the years, it's the constant theme of should I start a new Instagram?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Every time it's yes, because there's that unconscious fear, or there's a little bit conscious fear of what are they going to think? What are they going to
Yep.
think? What are they going to
Right.
think? What are they going to
Right.
think? And so
Yep.
it's that's also present. That's also present. So a lot of times people have to completely start something new and not don't tell anybody about it. It's not out of fear.
Yep.
It's like you just understand your own capacity as well.
Yep.
You
That's right.
know, and to be that self-aware, to be honest with yourself, like I was there. I was there. I get it.
Love that.
Like I started a new Instagram. That's the route
Yeah.
I took. And I didn't tell anybody about it at the beginning. So I know how that
Hmm.
can feel,
Yeah.
you know? What a
Yeah.
podcast, dude. What a podcast today. This has been
Dude,
great.
so good. It's just such a, I'm just really grateful for our friendship, brother. And yeah, getting to touch base and just talk the good stuff with you is always a pleasure. So thanks for having me on, man.
Likewise, this is a great conversation, great friendship. You know what they
Yes,
say.
sir.
I got to really commit to the accent. If I'm going to do it, I got to commit more. But the problem is my voice already fucking hurts. It's actually really fucking hard to do the Trump, dude. It's
Yeah, I try and I can sometimes get a few words. I'm like, yeah, that's pretty good. I'm like, no, no.
I've been talking so much, man. But yeah, it's been great. I'm sure we'll do it again soon.
Yeah.
Tell people what you're doing, where you're at. What do you got? What are you offering?
Yeah, right now, so still working on one-on-one containers, slowing down on that as I move into more group work. But really just focusing on me right now and finding really harmony in my life work balance. Some speaking engagements coming up that I'm excited for, and retreats and in person. I'm really just being pulled to really go in person, man. Like I really miss 2020 into now has been a blessing. Like I've been able to really achieve a lot and you know help a lot of people in the realm that of trauma and healing the unconscious stuff. And but this desire to hug and be in community, retreats, of course, and but I just want to be out there in the world. So I'm rediscovering what that looks like. I feel this astrological event that we're about to experience here in the next couple hours is going to be another. I really feel a shift, and I feel a pulling, that the heart pulling into more, and I'm being patient, because my mind wants to go launch this and that. But yeah, right now, just really helping people uh, in my one-on-one containers. So if you have anybody who wants to dive a little deeper and really release some deep stuff that's rooted that you can't seem to break free from, you can always reach out to me. I'd be honored to help you. Um, yeah, just kind of letting things settle right now. Let's see where it takes
Excellent.
me. Yeah.
Excellent. Excellent. Would recommend working with Joey. I've done my only past life regression with Joey.
Yeah.
That's how much I trust this man. So go check that out. Link will be in the description to connect with Joey more. I also feel the call to in-person stuff. Let us know
Yeah.
down below. Let us know down below. Comment below where you're at, where you would see an event happening. I'm
Yeah.
curious where the community is, where would be an
Hmm.
interesting spot even. I've thought about, doing it in Sedona. I've thought about, there's a lot of people on the East Coast as well. So maybe an East Coast gathering, maybe a Florida gathering for the winter, especially, I'm in
Oof.
Michigan and it's fucking cold. Why don't we go to some tropics?
Let's
I'm
go.
from Florida. I was born in Florida. I'm not just that guy that goes to Florida. I was born there. Relax. Okay. So we may host an event soon. So let us know down below what your
Yeah.
thoughts are, what that might look like. And also, Joey, when your events come out in any form,
Yeah.
let me know, and I'll add those to the description of all the podcasts. That way people
Beautiful.
can find them, be a part of them, because I know you're doing great work. So, all right, bro.
Thank you,
It's been
brother.
real.
Appreciate you, man.
So if you're listening or watching this podcast and you're thinking to yourself, you know what, I really want to know the deeper meaning of what Jesus was saying. I want to get beyond the dogma of the church and to really tap in within myself to that truth. Well, every single Sunday, completely free, I have esoteric Bible studies. This is to help you to understand the hidden symbolic meanings that Jesus was trying to relay in you could say in collaboration, really in connection to Eastern traditions. And this is something that the church, this is something that a lot of big figures like Russell Brand and Jordan Peterson don't talk about, and they completely ignore. And the question is why? Why aren't we making those connections? Why aren't we seeing how there really is more evidence for these interpretations than the evidence for the other interpretations when you are given fully the evidence? And so that is what my goal is with these esoteric Bible studies every Sunday, is to give you the evidence and let you decide for yourself. I'm not going to tell you what it is or what it isn't. I'll just tell you what I found and let you go from there. And that's, I think, how it should be. So that's what we're doing in the Academy. Join that every Sunday, 11 a.m. Eastern, completely free. Besides that, Man and His Symbols is the book club book for this month for the Academy as well. So why is that book important? Think about this. Carl Jung said that one of the biggest, actually the biggest connection to your unconscious is your dreams. Most people don't even think that their dreams have any meaning. Like, they're just like, oh, well, that was fucking weird, and then they just go on with their day. But there's something deep, deep, deep there. And so Carl Jung's book, this book, is particularly interested and explains in a deep, profound way the symbolism in the dreams. And ironically, when you see the symbolism in the dreams, a lot of it comes from the collective unconscious. And so then you can see how Jesus' message is actually the symbolism in the collective unconscious, very similar to the Eastern traditions, because you see the link, because you understand the symbolism. So what am I saying? The key to this game, a major key to this game, is to understand symbolism, because then you'll find the truth in many different religions. You'll see where it is, how it is, what Jesus was saying, the truth of his message. It's very much symbolism. So this book is not just about dream interpretation. It's about the process of individuation. There's a whole chapter on that. And this is the book that Carl Jung left us right before he left that particular body. And so this is, to me, the culmination of his work into a digestible format for anybody. And that was his intention with writing it. It's a digestible format. So to not only get into symbolism, to not only get into the process of individuation, to understand the shadow, I mean, these are some of the most important things in this reality, because then the symbolism leads you to the Christ within, because you can see it in the Bible. You can see it in Jesus' message, because there's a lot of dogma surrounding Jesus' message in terms of history. That's why we covered a lot of that last week with Mary Magdalene and what the truth of that is, and the manipulation of the story in itself. But then there's actually Jesus' message in that story in particular. So there's the Bible and Jesus' message. So we're covering a lot of different things in there. If this interests you, if this calls to you, my service to you is this. Both of those are completely free. Completely free. Why not join and just see what it's about? Why not join and just actually go into this? May it benefit you. That is my intention. So we'll see you in the Human Game Academy. The links to that are going to be below. The link to Joey's stuff is also going to be below. That's it for this episode of The Human Game. Subscribe for more podcasts just like this. They're going to keep coming out. I'm dedicated to this shit. To this shit. I literally spend all day, every day on working on this shit and doing what I'm doing. So thank you to everyone who's shown any bit of support to me. It is incredibly beneficial to me in my journey, whatever that looks like, whether that's a like, whether that's a sub, whether that's a donation, it doesn't matter. I appreciate every single one of you who have helped me. This is a fucking mission. This is a fucking mission that I feel I am here to do, to help humanity to understand the true meaning of a lot of these different things. And so that is what we're doing. If you want to support that mission, there's also going to be links below in any way